Okay, so Britain, just like any other civilized country, is signatory to the Vienna Convention, which requires it to protect the embassies that are on their land. And unfortunately, that also includes the Iranian embassy in London. Now, the regime in Iran has repeatedly been one of the few countries that has contravened this Vienna Convention. First time it was the US embassy in Tehran in 1980 when they ransacked it and took the staff there as hostages for 444 days. The British embassy in Tehran has been ransacked at least twice, the latest one in 2012. But Britain, being a civilized country, has to uphold the convention that it's a signatory to, and that means that it's got to protect the Iranian embassy as well. Now, once again, there was a protester who climbed up the wall. Uh, it's amazing how they climbed the wall. It's just like when I watch them, and yeah, I mean, obviously, he has broken the law, and I think he went on the adjacent buildings first, which were other private properties, and then sort of like went over to the Iranian embassy to take the flag that Iranians don't accept as their flag. It's something that's been forced to them after 1979. Brought it down and put up the real flag of Iran, the one with the sun and lion. So he, I mean, this is one of those cases of civil disobedience when you know you're doing something wrong and you've got to be prepared for the consequences. So you do that knowingly. So he's gone up there. Obviously, the police in the UK is duty bound to arrest him. So as he was coming down, or I think at the end he had to jump off. The police went to arrest him, and then what's been reported is that there was other protesters there who then tried to stop him from being arrested, and some of them started pelting the police with stuff. So then the police reacted. Now, so far, I'm on the side of the police up to here because they've got to do what they've got to do, which is protect the Iranian embassy in London, whether they like it or not. Someone has gone up there, brought down the flag, so they've got to arrest him. The protester who did that must know that he has to bear the consequences, and he's probably doing this knowingly, as we've seen throughout history on many occasions where people have done this, like the suffragettes, etc., etc. But attacking the police is not the right thing to do, and the police have to retaliate. So up to this point, I'm with the UK police. However, the pictures that came out after that showed that they seem to be using exceptional brutality. I mean, there was footage of a 70-year-old man beaten and bloodied, and I don't think they needed to use that much force to contain a 70-year-old man.
I saw one
And then there was
video.
another footage where they've gone into a hospital.
I
Yeah, go
just,
on.
I
You
just,
saw
I'm
one video?
sorry, I'm interrupted. I saw one particular clip which showed three or four policemen beating somebody that they'd piled onto. So he was obviously subdued and they were having a go at him, even though he was on the ground and underneath them. Yeah, carry on.
Exactly. He
Mm.
was on the ground. He was already subdued. There was no need for five or six people to be on top of him. And then there was another video that came out where the police had gone to a hospital where the people had been beaten up by the police or got injured. They'd gone to a hospital, and the UK police had gone there trying to arrest people in the hospital, which is sort of reminded the protesters of what is going on in Iran. Because as the protesters are being shot, they're going to hospital. I mean, they not only they arresting them in hospital, some of them they've been shot in the hospital by the police as well. But to reenact something like that is just further
But
inflame the protesters
just a minute,
outside
Potkin.
the embassy.
I have to. I do have to make this point here. If they've broken the law, they have to be arrested. Even if they're in hospital, that's not a refuge. They just can't drag them out of the hospital if they're injured. What were they doing? Were
I
they?
understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is what I'm saying is that it resembled what the police
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Iran is doing with the protesters, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what further inflamed the protesters. So, and I'll tell you something, Demi, the I've been following the regime's media outlets because they're the only ones that seems to have, well, one of the few outlets in Iran that seem to have internet, and they're posting their propaganda, and they're having a field day with the images that are coming from the from that night outside the embassy,
Yeah.
and they're just laughing. They're saying, "Well, look, this is how they're treating the protesters in London as well. So why can't we do the same thing as well?" So it's not good, the thing that happened. Now, it begs the question: how much do these kind of protests actually achieve? I know a lot of the Iranian expats are infuriated, and they want to do something. They're seeing the images. There are thousands of people that have been massacred by the regime in Iran, and they're absolutely livid, and they want to do something. And most of the time, maybe they're not told what sort of things they can do. So they see protest as the first thing that they can do, going outside the Iranian embassy and other sort of like places where they think it'd be good to protest, like outside the BBC or outside the Downing Street, whatever. But I just feel myself, I think the British people have had enough of protests for the last 2 years. They've had enough of seeing these scenes. And we've got to try to appeal to the British public to get them on our side, to get them on board in condemning the massacres in Iran. We want to put off the British people. So, whereas I can understand the expats' fury and wanting to do something, wanting to protest, I just think right now there's other things that we can do. And if we are going to protest, we must keep it peaceful. We can't drag the violence onto the British streets. That's going to have a negative consequence. And
Uh,
that's my point of view.
I I I have a problem with this. I'm not suggesting that violence is the answer, but when you look at what's been going on with the, I'm not saying that we should do this. I'm just pointing something out. The weekly violent and, I have to say, uncontested by the police protests for Hamas had driven into the minds of not the ordinary people, but the young people, that Hamas is in the right. And all the peaceful protests, the pro-Israel protests, which have been peaceful, friendly and patriotic, they're the ones who haven't had any effect. I'm not saying that means we've got to copy the Hamas model, but we have to look at that and try and work out what's going on.
Look, I'm trying to be balanced here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be balanced here, and thank you for reminding me of something else, because another criticism against the police behavior that night was that it shows its inconsistency with the way it handles pro-Hamas protesters, and the violence and the chaos that they cause. And I don't think I've seen this level of brutality against the Hamas protesters that was shown against Iranian protesters. And I really don't think the Iranian protesters, maybe a few people throw a few things in there, but I don't think they were as violent as the pro-Hamas supporters or Palestine Action and all that. So the inconsistency, the two-tier policing is worth the criticism as well. But I'm trying to be balanced, and I think there's other ways of winning over the British public. The sector of the population that those pro-Hamas supporters have appealed to is not the sort of sector that we appeal to. They'll never be on our side. These people, the activist elite, these professional revolutionaries who always on the streets protesting about one thing or another, they don't like our cause. They're not going to be on our side. So we don't want to use the same tactics as the pro-Hamas supporters. We've got to show the British people that if the Islamic regime in Iran is overthrown, and if they are fed up with the rise of radical Islam in this country, they should support the overthrow of the Islamic regime in Iran. We don't want to cause chaos. We don't want to interrupt their daily life. We don't want to bring the traffic to a halt and that. and disrupt the life of the British people. We want them on our side. That's my view.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So, who do you know who organised this demonstration outside the Iranian embassy? Why it got so out of hand?
I think there were various. Yeah, I think there were various people. I don't think the blame should go with the organisers. Without knowing more details about it, I think it was just something spontaneous. It's the feelings are sort of like at sort of like top um, level sort of thing. Anything can sort of like suddenly cause a crowd to go spontaneously behave in a way that they wouldn't normally. Um, and I don't want to blame any of the organisers. It's just something that happened, but I think it could have been contained and dealt with in a much better way.
Yeah.
And
I,
I think it's good for
I
the police to come out and to explain and talk to the organisers.
yes. Well, certainly, I don't think the police were handling it well, for sure. And as I said, um, I don't recall seeing any instances of the Iranian demonstrators harassing passers-by in the street. They were directing their fury at the embassy itself, weren't they? Whereas with the
Most of the
Hamas,
scenes that are,
with the
yeah, most
Hamas demos, they were pushing at people in the street as well, and the police were blaming the people in the street, not the demonstrators. Whereas here, the
yeah,
police were
I mean,
blaming the demonstrators. So there appears to be some sort of different attitude that the police had. And you wonder how they managed to get
it's,
this
it's,
different.
it's definitely it's definitely the inconsistency and the two-tier policing is a valid criticism. I've seen pro-Hamas protesters stand in front of a cab with passengers in it, and interrupting the cab journey of someone who's got nothing to do with this situation. I've seen a pro-Hamas supporters. I've got it on my YouTube channel. A guy just sits in the middle of the road,
Yeah,
brings down the entire traffic from
yeah,
Piccadilly to Charing Cross,
that's
Charing
right.
Cross, and it takes 2 hours for police to remove him.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I've seen those sort of inconsistencies. What I'm saying is that there has to be a distinction between the way we behave and the way that the Hamas supporters behave. You've been to one of these protests. I think you went to the one outside the Downing Street, didn't you?
yeah, that's
And
right.
as you say, there was a difference between the way Hamas protesters act and the way the Iranian protesters act. And I think we should maintain that and not get out of line. If there are people that have infiltrated and deliberately trying to do that, so that those images are then used by the Iranian outlets in Iran, the Iranian state media outlets in Iran, then they're doing them a service, whether knowingly or unknowingly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I just want to. So we've dealt with that now. I because of the internet blackout
And
in.
I'm Demi, and Demi,
Yeah,
Demi,
go on, go on.
Demi, and I just have to say, and I think I think I myself am a victim of the two-tier policing. I think the first time you did a video about me was that video of my arrest,
Yeah, yeah,
which happened, I think, in on 18th of May 2024. I mean, I was so lucky that someone had uh, recorded the entire incident from beginning to end and showed exactly, who the police were favouring. And I mean, my case was dismissed. Luckily, I was charged to begin with, but the Crown prosecution dismissed the case 1 week before the trial. But I still haven't been reimbursed for my legal fees. My complaint with the IOPC only just a few days ago, I just got an acknowledgement for it. So I myself, I'm a victim of this two-tier policing and the police inconsistency. But I have to think level-headed. There's a
yeah,
difference between the way we should protest and the way that those people do, because there's a fundamental difference between us.
Yes, there is. But why do you think this is happening? I mean, the police are ordinary human beings out there in their riot gear, yeah? Why are they acting differently in these two cases?
My experience of the police, them, is that they prefer easier targets. When it's too difficult for them, they try to stay away. On that same day that I was arrested, before I was arrested, I got a message from a friend of mine who I was actually reporting on a pro-Palestine protest. I got a message from a friend of mine who was watching a live stream, and he'd sent me a screenshot of someone that the police were after. The police had actually posted on X picture of this man saying, if you know about his whereabouts, please let the Metropolitan Police know, right? So he sent me that screenshot saying that guy that the police were asking about his whereabouts and asking the public to help just went past you in that protest that you were covering.
Oh, yeah,
so
I remember
I went
that.
up to this female police officer.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
and she had no interest in what I was showing her.
Yeah.
And I said, look, the Metropolitan Police have asked asked the public, and I'm telling you, he's here. And she was making up all sorts of excuses not to do anything because it was just too difficult for her to go after that man in the crowd and finding her. She wasn't even bothered about taking a note or telling her supervisor or anything. She just wanted to get rid of me. She just wanted to, do a few more hours of sort of like easy policing, get a few, some bonus, and then go home. So I've seen this with my own eyes. But if for a softer targets, they seem to be more brutal. When they're like more extremist, more violent, they try to appease them.
That's what happened in Birmingham.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking right now. In fact, I've just uploaded another video about the West Midlands police. They were pandering to the extremists.
Yeah.
And what we saw in West Midlands police, the way they banned the Maccabee fans, is what I've seen repeatedly in the way that the police handle the situation. And also, I have to say that they are very, very uneducated about the subject matter as well. I mean, you must have seen the videos where a Jewish guy was arrested because they thought that wearing a Star of David was too provocative. Yeah. Another one was there was this video of this policeman and this policewoman who thought that Nasrallah was the leader of Lebanon, and insulting him would be offending the Muslim sensitivities. They have no idea what Hezbollah is. They have no idea who the proscribed terrorist groups are. I don't think they're getting briefed before going to police these demonstrations.
Yeah. I remember there was one thing where, a Jewish guy complained to the police about some slogan or other. It was about jihad. And the policeman said, well, jihad means different things. Do you remember that? He'd been
yes,
fed this. He'd been fed this story, obviously in some pre-demo lecture, and so he was suddenly an expert on Muslim jurisprudence. Making up excuses.
It's appalling.
Well, what we've got here is a police force which is systemically lazy. Not just in Birmingham, but we've seen it now in London. Everywhere. They prefer to pander to extremists who will use extreme violence and beat up like 70-year-old men holding placards up. Well, actually, we saw that with Peter Lynch, didn't we?
Yes, yeah.
What do we do about this?
And again, in my own arrest, I mean, did you see the number of police officers that were jumping on me?
Yeah.
And they were trying to bring me down on the floor. without me resisting arrest. Why
Yeah.
do they want to bring me down on the
Well,
floor?
I've
You know,
seen that
I mean,
with
how many was enough?
I've seen that with Tommy Robinson. Have you seen him being arrested? I mean, you'd think he was a
Yeah, but
six-headed
it
monster
was
the
pepper
way that.
sprayed in the eyes for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The thing is, the police are not being made accountable for these inconsistencies. I mean, you know, sure, cases against us are dropped sometimes when we're lucky and everything, but even when we win the cases, you know, the stress that we go through, the financial amounts that we have to pay out
yeah.
to get off the case and everything. You know, all of these things are playing a psychological effect on us because, like, um, you know, we have to think twice about going on a legal process and trying to express our opinion because we don't know how the police are going to behave. And I don't see the mainstream media asking these questions from the chief of the Metropolitan Police or other police officers because there's definitely a problem with the way they're being briefed or not being briefed at all before they go to the policing. If you know, if a police officer goes on a pro-Hamas protest and doesn't know what a proscribed group is, doesn't know that Hamas is a terrorist group prescribed by the UK government, then we have a problem. And this has been going on for more than 2 years, and no one's looking into this problem. No one's, you know, there's no inquiries or anything. No one's investigating it, and it should be investigated. We can't have the police behaving like this all the time.
You're right. The police are not accountable, and even when they're caught with their hands in the till, they're like, for instance, Guildford in Birmingham. He's given the option of just retiring with full honours and his pension. He's in his 50s and he's getting a pension of, I don't know, something like £100,000 a year. And some people only dream of earning that during their lifetime. And he's like 55 years old or whatever. He'll probably take some sort of a security consultancy job as well, and he's made for life. There is no accountability for the way he acted over, as you say, going for the soft option. And you know,
It's
and
rewarding
everybody's acting as if he's the only one that this is happening to, but we can see it's happening to the police forces throughout the British Isles. And I remember now, you remind me of it, there's a guy, he was wearing a Star of David. This was in Edinburgh, I believe, and there was a Hamas demo. And the policeman told him to go away or hide the chain he was wearing or whatever, because it might trigger the crowd. So he was going, and he said to that guy, I remember the conversation now, look, there's only two of us. We can't deal with this crowd. So why don't you go away? It was something along those lines. So the whole thing is systemic all the way from the top of the British Isles to from St Ives to John O'Groats.
Yeah, and going back to the West Midlands, going back to the West Midlands Police. I mean, you know, his retirement and his golden pension. I mean, basically, bad behavior has been rewarded.
Yeah.
This man has been caught red-handed, lying time and time again
Yep.
to the select committee, to the public,
Yeah.
and there's been no consequences for him. And that's just going to encourage another person coming in his place, saying, "Well, I'll do the same thing. You know, I'll take the easy option. You know, I lied to the public and I retire on a golden pension."
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always thought that policemen don't lie. You know.
They
Anyways,
always did lie.
thank you, but
they always did lie. But when they got caught out, at least society or the government made some sort of a show of shock horror. Now they're just sort of, you know, well, sort of, and it is
yeah,
systemic.
and the same with the politicians.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and the same with the politicians. I mean, I remember this abhorrence of lying in public life was
Yeah.
one of the things that always impressed me about the British system, because you know, if a politician, if a member of the parliament was proved to mislead the parliament, they had to resign. That was like taken for granted.
Yeah.
But now people lie and they get away with it, and I don't think that's good.
You know what? It's the
I have to go
old.
now, Demi. I have to go now, Demi.
You do.
I have to go. So I hope this. Yeah, I have to go,
Right.
unfortunately. But
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
hope I've tried to make the point.
Yep. And thank
Yeah.
you very much for talking to me, Potkin. Have a great day and do good. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks again for talking to me.
All right.
I really appreciate it.
See you, Potkin. Bye. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.